Hello, friends and strangers, and those who are not quite friends and not quite strangers. I'm Michael Beck, and I'm still the Enduring Condition. And while I've uploaded this video to YouTube, I have not done anything to promote or advertise it on my social media because I'm currently not on social media. As of this recording, it's been several weeks to a month since I logged off, and I don't know who will watch this other than the people that I share it with directly. And I don't even know who will even know that I made it, except for perhaps those who are subscribed to the channel. But regardless, I wanted to make a record for myself, talking a bit about that and my reasoning behind my decision. So, I guess for starters, it's got to be said that yeah, I've been feeling pretty lonely and isolated lately. And I take some kind of comfort in knowing that I'm far from the only one who has felt or is currently feeling this way. Um, you know, Even if it doesn't really make it easier, it's still something for sure. To know that I'm not alone. And while it's like this video is not about my feelings of loneliness and isolation. It's like a part of the story, so it's something that needs mentioning. And the fact that yeah, I've been trying to give some thought to the things that might be contributing to this sense of loneliness, and it's still something that I'm pondering. Um, but in the process of thinking about it, it's been I've been thinking about uninstalling my social media, and so yeah, eventually that's what I did. It wasn't the case that it wasn't a premeditated, the way that I picked a day and time. I just had this idea percolating in my mind for some time, and then one morning I just spontaneously, I just did it. So yeah, I gave a bit of an Irish goodbye, meaning that I didn't make any kind of formal announcement to let people know of my leaving. I didn't feel like that was necessary to bring attention to. Certainly I would have said something if it was going to be some very permanent final decision. But while I don't know how long I will be away from social media, I don't anticipate that this will be forever. Far from that. um, and yeah, this is not the first time that I've stepped away, and I know that I'm not the only one who will, take breaks from time to time. So, um, yeah, no sense in making a big deal of it. And yeah, well, admittedly, I installed my social from a place of feeling disheartened and defeated. Being able to do it and then choosing to actually follow through by actually doing it for myself was empowering. I can notice when something is negatively affecting me, and I can change things. With that in mind, I want to keep this momentum going and ultimately use my time away from social media, however long that may be, to create more space for mindfulness and curiosity, and then to keep that going after I get back on. That'll be one of my goals. At this present time, I feel like it's difficult to disentangle where social media and modern society begins and ends because social media has, such a profound impact on how so many of us live today. I know that there are people who don't use social media, but I can only speculate and recall what people have shared with me as to, the particular circumstances, um, and what it's like for a person to actually be able to just uh, completely just not be a part of this social media thing that so many of us are just live in and are locked in, and can feel like something that's we're trapped in and can't break free from. And I guess I would think that they're either older and or married, or have a strong remaining ties with family and or childhood friends, and or highly introverted. And I guess that's a bit of speculation and maybe a bit of, I guess, what maybe I've feel like I've observed for people who aren't on social media. I mean, I can think of one person who's not on, and I guess it's only more recently that he was married. But I mean, before that, he was in a relationship, and again, he has some seems to have some close ties with friends from his childhood, and seems to have some strong enough ties with family. So it's like he seems to be having a good bit of um, social opportunity outside of social media. So I can see where, yeah, like it might not be that much of a challenge, and social media might not be that all that enticing if you already have those things. And but yeah, I believe that we're all social creatures, and even if social media is sometimes a little more than a counterfeit or an illusion, I think that without a sense of connectivity, we will often choose that over nothing. And yeah, I mentioned people being older because I feel like they with that can come potentially them being from a different generation and maybe are more tech adverse for starters, but perhaps they are more likely to be married or have a family of their own and a sense of community with friends from years past. And yeah, I'm aware that there are plenty of older folks on social media. My grandmother being one example. Um, but yeah, I've also kind of just wondered if women are more likely to use social media. Um, Again, just an example. My dad has nothing to do with social media, but my mom uses it frequently, and so I don't know these things. I'm sure there are plenty of women who aren't on it, but just in the times that I've heard people who aren't on social media, it's just always been guys. Um, but yeah, I don't fit into any of the before mentioned categories, though I am getting older, as the saying goes. I'm not getting any younger, but all of my speculations and profiling aside, I'm not married, and I'm not in any kind of romantic relationship. I'm not close with my family, and while I have some long-standing friends now, some lasting about 6 years or more, none of those friends go back to childhood. And as far as community goes, the majority of the friends that I have aren't friends with each other, and the one friend group that I do have is mostly online. Um, as in one of the friends lives locally, the rest are online. And while I had the privilege of meeting some of them in person, I rarely see them. And I'll just say that friendship in general is complicated. I feel like you essentially make up your own rules as you go, and people and circumstances can and do change. And to know anyone for any length of time is a privilege when friendship so often seems seasonal. And but that is now a bit of you know my social kind of standing status right now. But just thinking about my childhood, you know, I spent my childhood years without social media, but it's honestly hard for me to remember quite what it was like and what I did. And I will say that I'm under no illusions that, you know, that I didn't struggle with a profound sense of loneliness and isolation as a child. As I would have discussed, you know, and previous videos, podcasts, blogs, um, posts. That I definitely feel like things have improved now from the past. Mainly the sense that the friends that I have now actually know who I am on a deeper level, um, and that they're not simply friends with me because I've made myself useful to them. But other than that, I feel like what's changed between now and then is perhaps just the opportunities for shame and comparison that have multiplied just so massively. Sure, when I was a kid, I would see other kids with their friends, and there was an opportunity for comparison and, being like, man, like I wish uh, that I had more friends, or, I could be more like that with my friends that I did have. But now there's just this, constantly the opportunity to see highlight reels of hundreds of people. And then even if, it's not like a highlight per se, and the person doesn't necessarily seem to be doing amazing or having a thriving social life outside of social media, I get to see all the likes and the comments that they're getting. And admittedly, I find it very hard not to compare myself. As much as I felt unsuccessful socially as a child, I feel about equally as successful being internet social. I compare and I look to others, and it seems like, well, they don't have necessarily seem to be thriving socially, but like, man, like look at all the likes and the comments and the engagement, and that's not even to imagine perhaps all of their DMs, and it just feels like, somehow. And even just like hearing examples where people be like seem to be like really getting a lot of connection and something out of social media, and just feeling like generally that's like not my experience. Like I have, yeah, really not really anyone at this point that I'm messaging with, and I basically just like go on there and check my social media. I post things and check to see if anyone's engaged with it, and I do try to look at other people's stuff, and I try to engage with their stuff. But yeah, it's just it's even harder to engage when I'm feeling so drained and tired and exhausted. But also, it's just hard when it feels like there's not really a return. That even when I try to do likes and comments, um, it just doesn't seem like, yeah, again, like there's not much of a return. And even, yeah, I mean, I could say a lot, and wasn't trying to go too much, into this here, but off script, yeah, I mean, there's just so many instances, so many ways in which like social media has just felt so indirect and so impersonal, and just times where maybe like I just don't know like what the like relationship is, or I think that it might be more than it is. Like times where I'll message with someone, and they'll even be like, let's say like let's be friends, and I'm like, yeah, that's great, let's do that, let's be friends, and then just like never hear from them again. Um, and they never engage with any of my stuff, and it's just like okay, like it seems like being friends means something different to you, and or I don't know, yeah, like social media just feels like it's set up to be an influencer and to have a platform and to just accumulate followers, and it's not actually set up to make connections and to make actual friends. And while Facebook is not amazing, of course, at least it's set up in a way that you have to you know send the person a friend request, and they have to accept it, and then you can be both mutually friends with each other. It's not like freaking Instagram where you can just, you know, someone can follow you and then you follow them back, and then you find out later that they've just unfollowed you, and it seems like okay, they was like looking for more followers. I don't want to have anything to do with you. Um, and just the fact that like it's just set up to just be having a soapbox and just like putting stuff into the ether rather than actually making direct, you know, contact, um, and invitations to individuals. Um, I know there's times and even still, as I mentioned earlier, like after I've done this video, there's a couple of people who I will, share this with directly. Um, but as much as I'm doing that for others, like and you kind of have to gauge and be like, okay, like, do they actually want me to send them, continue to send them stuff? Some don't seem to, and others do, and then I will send them more stuff. But like, I would love it if more people would actually like send stuff to me and give me a personal invitation, and not just expect for me to, you know, see stuff in their stories and in my feed. And like I get like both ways, like people are not going to see my stuff because of the algorithm. I'm not going to see their stuff. And so yeah, I just with that in mind, like I just wish that there would be more times where it was just more common to just make a personal, an individual invitation, um, or give the deets. And I get that. Even there's been times past where I needed to make sort of like larger announcements about my health, and it was like hard to know who I messaged, or being so tired, like I didn't have the the bandwidth to message each individual person. It was easier just to get it all out there. But I think there are definitely times and instances, again, like a video, to just individually, you know, send a link and be like, hey, like I made a new video, will you check it out? Um, and again, wishing that other people do the same. And I imagine there must be others who are doing it, but it just seems like, again, with the way that social media is situated, it just seems like it's the expectation that you're just going to get everything through, again, the stories and the feeds. And and again, that's so indirect and so impersonal. It's not that someone directly like wanted me to see it and engage with it. They wanted to put it out there and have everyone see and engage with it. So I'm just one of many people who can see it. um and it just, yeah, again, it feels indirect, it feels impersonal. And and yeah, so that's again, off the script, and let me see where I can get back onto it. Um, but yeah, I guess I was just saying that, with all of that said, uh, just trying to, yeah, uh, take a break, um, and take a step back, um, and regardless of what anyone else is doing, um, you know, I can think about what I'm doing, and uh, I can have people who, engage with me in a personal way, and I can engage with people in a personal way. Um, I would prefer not to just only be in people's DMs, at least if I've known them for any length of time. And so, and I do have people who will message me, through a text, through my phone, or through some other app. and yeah, I'm really grateful for that, and that even though I'm not on social media, there are people who will engage with me off of that, and yeah, that I just trying to focus my, as much as I'm focusing my time and energy on other things in terms of, social, perhaps I have more room to offer people, um, that are, being more direct and personal with me. I can be, having more, I can offer more of myself to them, rather than just being distracted with other people, other things. Um, but yeah, apart from, however more or less social media, is or isn't. Um, Having been off of the apps, I've been considering more of the addictive nature of them. Part of my challenge with logging off and subsequently my urge to log back on isn't only about the people who are on there and, feeling that I might miss something. It's also the user interface on those apps. And for one, while I can't scroll on social media, uh, through the feed now, I still have like this news feed on my phone that's just a swipe away from my home screen. And so I found myself starting to use that even more in place of social media. And so I've just been wondering, like, am I addicted to scrolling? um, so yeah, I'm sure that people have talked at length about scrolling and addiction, but honestly, it's not something that I've thought about until now. I guess mainly I just thought of the addictive nature of like notifications, and I think that there is a component there, and I think that that's something maybe, uh, that I've certainly heard discussed and is discussed. But yeah, I think that the thing that's really that I've been noticing that I've been really sort of, yeah, finding that urge and the temptation just go right back onto social media hasn't really been the notifications at all, as much as it's just been like, man, like I would really like to just scroll. um and yeah, it does seem from just talking with a friend, and even just oddly enough, um kind of, I guess, serendipitously, I'm not gonna be able to say that word right now. Uh, Serendipitously, there we go. As I've been thinking about this and writing out my thoughts, I've been seeing, um, just some news and even some like legal stuff, I guess, happening, where there's been a push to try to, I guess, especially for, I guess, maybe like minors, just considering the addictive nature of scrolling and how it could impact them, and what regulations there could be or what could be in place to try and protect minors from that. And did I say? But yeah, like, it's not just social media, but it's interesting to like think about how, like, there's definitely something going on in, the makers and the powers that be, or uh, if now we're gonna say it's addictive, there's an argument to be made that it definitely works, because basically, yeah, virtually everything now, all like virtually all platforms, um, have this, scrollifying interface. And again, even just like the native news feed on my phone, there is a news feed on my phone, and and I can just scroll and scroll and yeah. So not only social media, but the addictive scrolling is ever present now these days. And yeah, I'll say that I believe that any addiction works, even though it's eventually becomes detrimental because in some way it meets a need, and there's not a a bad need. Um, Even if you remove the old pattern, the need is still there. We should not only be about removing drugs and addictions without ensuring that the need is being met, not only because it's unlikely that a person wouldn't return to an old habit without having the need met, but because we should be about getting people's needs met. That makes sense to me. But this means looking for other healthier and more sustainable ways of meeting that need. So while there are downsides to continuously checking apps and the potentially endless scrolling when I'm on them, there is a need or some benefit that I have noticed that comes from having this dopamine hit, um, to get me going as a person with ADHD, especially when I'm trying to wake up and get going in the morning. Just having something to do and engage with, I find can be really helpful up until the point that, I get locked in and stuck, and then it's like, all right, I need to actually get going with my day now. Um, but like when I'm just like first getting up and I don't want to get up, I don't want to get up, just like having something, um, the scrolling, engaging, checking my email, something like that. Um, just does something here where I can actually go from being dead tired to like, all right, like I'm more awake now, but then I can kind of get stuck. I kind of get stuck. I can really get stuck. And then, you know, even though I have the energy, it's like I need to use that energy to do something productive with. And so I think the trick might be finding some sort of alternative, for getting that dopamine hit when I need it, but without some of the drawbacks. And again, without getting caught up in something when it becomes time to move on and get started. And so this is, uh, this is gonna take some further time, research, and consideration. And at this point, I haven't implemented any alternatives, and yeah, I'm not really sure what that could be. But it is something for me to first recognize that need for me to try and pursue and meet it. And I believe that this is just one example of something that I have noticed and considered since logging off of social media because of the time and the mental headspace that it has allowed. And, in the absence again of checking and scrolling and the shameful ruminating thoughts, I, now more often have the time and the mental energy to think about and pursue other things. But yeah, that's what I've got for now. Thank you as always for taking the time to consider these thoughts with me. Until next time, please stay well and take care. All right.